Yay Networks.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Spill the Beans podcast.
Happy Friday or Thursday, whenever you're listening to this. We appreciate you and thank you for coming back.
What's up, guys? Do you guys like when we release it on different days, or should we just do it all together on Fridays? What do you think?
Okay.
Because every time we say, if you're listening and we always get confused, let's just make it one day. I think Friday's fine. No?
Sure.
Let us know in the comments. But anyways, guys, hopefully you're having a great Friday and you're killing it. It's the end of the week. You know, Fridays, you only clock in, but you don't really work. So that's the motto, okay? You just show up, but you're just there for overtime at this point.
Anyways, we have, every single week we talk about how there's this super special thing coming up and it's coming. And now it's really coming, guys. Literally, probably in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, you will know exactly what we've been preparing for and the huge announcement that we have. Again, we're not pregnant. It's something different. Yeah. Just in case. I know a lot of people always ask. That's the first thing that we get is a pregnancy announcement, but it's not that. So at least you guys know it's not that.
Yeah, guys, a lot of you don't follow us on Instagram, and if you don't, what's going on, especially me, because I be posting more behind the scenes. But we actually have we got Luis Milan from out of state, all the way from Phoenix, Arizona, come and shoot the video for the thing that's happening. And when I told Blanca, I was like, I want Luis. After seeing all his work, but what really sold me at the end of the day, the thing that really confirmed it was Laura's wedding. When he edited that, and the way he edited that and just shot it made everyone so emotional, right? Like everyone was tearing up at Laura's wedding, and this thing that's coming out is something very emotional. So he's the only person I could ever trust in this world to kind of like be accountable for that type of video and really put it in his hands. So he's almost done with that, and he's an amazing dude besides an awesome worker. So we're really happy to share this with you guys. But Yamero, it's also tied to the shirts. That's why we haven't been launching more. We get DMs every day about the pig shirt, the workout shirt, the Not the Vibe shirt, and that's why we haven't launched, because we're waiting for that to come out. So just giving you guys an update.
Yep, but it'll be coming very soon. So just stay tuned. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms, because that's the only way you will know. Who knows if we're posting it on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok. So follow us.
But anyways, guys, we're just here to chit chat with you. I think it's time to catch up on some DMs, some emails. And I just wanted to remind everyone right now on DMs, yes, like you can go all out, right? Where you can type as much as you want, but please keep it short. Lately, I don't know if it's because we haven't been reminding anyone, but all the DMs we get are super long, guys. And I know it's hard to condense maybe all your emotions, all your traumas, all your stories into maybe a little paragraph, but just try your best. Use bullet points, and at the end of the day, with bullet points, I think you can get your story, your message behind, across, and that way we can help more people. Because right now I'm looking through the DMs, and girl, I know you guys didn't type that long in freaking history or English class, but you're over here in the DMs, 3-part essay, which I'm proud of you guys, and hopefully we can help as much people as we can when they get shorter. Right, babe?
Yep.
But anyways, I also wanted to talk about manipulating. Before we get into DMs, I wanted to kind of talk about how you guys in today's day, like, I feel like social media with bullying and with stuff like that can really hurt you, right? But you can also, there's like a different end of that stick where you can manipulate things nowadays. Let me give you guys an example. I don't know if you remember the whole Jay-Z that he cheated on Beyonce, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there was never really any videos or any proof. It just was a rumor that started out of nowhere, right? But then we come to find out it hasn't been confirmed, but at the same time, they launched this new streaming platform called Tidal. And the only way that you could hear Beyonce's new album that was going to talk about the cheating, calling him maybe a piece of shit, the tea, was going to be only available on Tidal. So they're saying that this whole cheating rumor was created so then people could go download that new streaming app called Tidal and listen to Beyonce's album, because we all want to know the tea. So that they're like, wow, they used, instead of like other rappers and other celebrities that get cheated on and they get made fun of and humiliated and stuff, because it's something very humiliating, right? They made it, and they used the press, the paparazzi, everything to their advantage, and they made money off of it, right? It might not even be true, because really, like, Jay-Z's really gonna cheat on Beyonce, like, come on. And there was never any pictures or anything like that. And two, so what I wanted to come across, guys, is if you don't follow us on Spill the Beans TikTok, please go. We just hit 12,000 followers, which is crazy. I think we've been posting on there for 2 months now. I made a TikTok the other day, and the way it ended, it looks like it just got cut off. Like, Blanca was talking the whole TikTok, and it just, like, when I started to talk, I cut myself off real quick, and people were like, when something goes viral, when people that don't follow you start commenting, right? So we started getting a lot of hateful comments, more towards Blanca, like, oh wow, you didn't let him talk, like, oh sure, like basically saying, yeah, a woman would cut, like if Blanca would have edited that TikTok, and basically saying like, oh, when he wants to talk, like, you cut him off. And it's so funny that all these people are so mad at Blanca for making that TikTok, when I'm the one that made it, and I'm the one that cut myself off, and I did it with that intention of tricking the. Now, I know you guys know what we talk about on those TikToks because you follow us, but when you target the viral audience, you need to be a little bit like that, So that was something funny that I wanted to share with you guys too. Yeah, do hateful comments get to me sometimes, but sometimes you flip it around and you flip it on them.
And that's how you get the bag, sis.
Yeah,
and I think that's what Jonathan's trying to get across. Like, Beyonce and JC are probably perfectly fine living their best life and love. And then also they secured the bag from that rumor. So it's like, yeah, I got my ass handed to me on that TikTok. I haven't even looked at the comments, honestly. Right now, I just looked it up to see. We're at 40K likes. Like, that's crazy,
Crazy.
So it's like, Jonathan and I are fine and dandy, but everyone is like handing it to me on that TikTok. So,
or like, they don't know that I make the TikToks, or our editor. But
I didn't even approve that TikTok, girl. It just went on, and I liked and shared it, and I got chewed out for it, but it's fine. So yeah, that's how a lot of people do it, guys. Literally on social media, we never want to be the type that are going to promote clickbaiting and promote doing this and that. But if basically the way that you can like pop off on social media is by manipulating your content. So say out of your whole vlog, right, you say, I can't believe he cheated on me, or something like that, or some like a statement that's like, holy shit,
he got food without you.
Yeah,
that's cheating.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, my boyfriend cheated on me, like, I'm gonna break up with him, and then the boyfriend ate food without her, So if you get that and you make that the title of the video, it's gonna get clicks because people want to see, oh, he cheated on her. And it's like, you're not really clickbaiting because you did say that in the video, So it's like, just know how to like formulate your content to reach that viral audience, because of course you want to cater to your audience already, to the people that follow you already, but sometimes you gotta like step out of the box and like target other people that don't necessarily watch you or know you. And even though you might get a little chewed out for it, they're still gonna watch the video and like it. So
yeah, that's a tip and trick for all you ladies starting out there, or guys, don't lie, but exaggerate the truth maybe.
And I think that's why Jonathan and I started this podcast. Even when we started it, like, we always told you guys, we're literally nobody to be giving you advice. We're just two people that have gone through a lot in our short lifetime. And that's why I love talking about like being parents and like having kids, because I know that our generation is so different with having kids and like just the way that we live life. So I know that a lot of our TikToks trigger older people.
Yeah.
and to me, it's like kind of funny because we're a different generation. So don't get mad if the shoe fits you. Like, it's like, okay, well, that's just how I was raised. That's what I knew at the time. Like, we can't get mad at our parents for giving it the best that they knew. They only were the best parents to us that they knew how to be. Now we have so much technology, so much research, so many therapists on TikTok that will give you advice for free on how to save your child from traumas, how to be a better person, So now we have all of these tools, and that's why I feel like we trigger so many people that are older than us, especially Hispanics, guys, because we all come from trauma because the older adults in our lives didn't know how to be exactly a good parent at the time. So yeah, I mean, looking at all those comments makes me crack up, because right away, like, who our younger audiences, who our audiences from our age group, and then who the older people are. So yeah. I don't know. I think that's really, it's just nice to see a point of view from everybody and to see that all the older people always hate on the way that we talk about being parents.
Yeah.
But
Because
anyways,
this is the generation to cut all this generational trauma, guys. I feel like, yeah, generations are getting crazier. Like Gen Z nowadays, like they're crazy, right? Like my little brothers and her little sisters. But at the same time, they know like a different kind of love. Like I see my brothers, and my dad still comes home from work, and my not full grown, but my teenage 13-year-old, tough little brothers, they still go up to him and kiss him on the cheek when he gets home, or the little one hugs him, and that's something that is getting rid of toxic masculinity. And like a lot of people think that like, oh, as the generations get older, like toxic, like masculinity is going away. Like, no, my dad still teaches them manly things, but he also teaches them to express themselves and to love one another, even if you're like a man with a man, like a father with a son, So I think that's pretty cool. I'm excited where we're gonna head, because you never know. Maybe it's one of those, we think about the future of those like scary movies with the robots and like the smoke and everything's artificial. But like, what if it's like more lovey, because everyone just loves themselves and loves each other,
Yeah. Oh, also, I saw a TikTok the other day that was so funny. So it was this toddler mom, and she's like, I can't believe I've been gaslighting my toddler. And she just goes to explain, she's like, so he wanted a toy that he couldn't play with at the time, so I put it in a cabinet, and he saw me put it in the cabinet, but I kept telling him it's not there, it's not there, it's not there. So it's like, do you understand how like he literally saw me put it in the cabinet, and now I'm telling him that it's not there? So it's like, even these little kids, like, you are, without knowing it, you're gaslighting them into thinking something isn't there when they're, so you're kind of making him doubt their knowledge, because he's like, well, I saw my mom put it in there, but she's telling me that it's not in there, so it's not in there. You
know what I'm gonna get rid of? The first thing when Franco gains, like, I feel like full kid conscience is like not lie.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing that I resent towards my family, all the way from like my parents to even my grandparents, I feel like everyone does this, is lie.
Yeah.
Lie about shit that you don't have to. Like, I was remembering this the other day. One time it was my uncle, me in the middle. It was a single cab, and my grandma driving, right? And my uncle was driving, and I asked him, what's that little button there on the dash? If you guys don't know, it's the button that like resets your miles. Have you seen it? It's like a little squishy thing. Mm-mm. You like press it, and on your odometer, say you're starting a trip from Cali to Vegas. You click it, and it'll go to 0, so then it tells you how many miles you went from. Mm-mm. Anyways, it's a nice, every car has it, but we just don't pay attention to that button. I asked my grandma, I was like, what's that button? And she told me it was like the fastest turbo ever. Right? So I'm like 7 or 8 when this is, it's almost in El Rancho. We were going from city to city. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, press it, press it. I told my uncle, he's like, no. Porque like and they kept the joke going. They're like, you're going to go like super fast. Like we can't control the car. Bruh. So fast forward, I come back to the United States, and my mom gets off. My mom would always leave me in the car when she would go grocery shopping or whatever. And I don't know why. I don't think I was a bad kid, but maybe I also asked not to go. But she would be like, okay, me dejaba el carro prendido. So one time, no, it was off this time because it wasn't hot. She got off, so I remembered the story. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna press it, whatever. Like, when they tell you not to press the red button, you press it. So I went and I pressed it. But then I remember the story. So I was like, babe, I was so scared. I was like, when my mom turns on this car is gonna go flying, and we're gonna crash in the parking lot. And we're gonna hit another car, and I was like, oh fuck, like should I tell her? Like no. So finally, my mom gets in the car, and I'm like, mom, le aplasté ese botón, and she's like, ¿por qué? Okay, I was like, pues like, mi abuela me dijo que es like turbo, like va bien rápido. She's like, ay, sí, a ver. Y lo le prende, and obviously the car didn't like, jump into lightsaber mode, but she's like, okay, no funcionó. But she kept the lie going, and all the way until I was probably an 18-year-old adult that I had my own car and stuff, that I found out what it was for. It's like, yeah, it might be funny and you guys might be cracking up, but I feel like that really hurt my feelings. I was like, why do you gotta lie to like a little kid like that? Like, or another thing, like one time I thought Santa was real, right? Mm-hmm. So then I asked for a dog, and my mom, obviously, no kids are listening to this, but Santa's not real. So we couldn't, we weren't that, well off, and we were in Mexico, and Mexican parents don't get you dogs for Christmas. So she wrote me a letter, and it supposedly was from Santa. And it said, "Hey, Jonathan, there's no puppies right now." Like something like that. Like, I can't get you a dog because it would die, like coming from the North Pole, So I grabbed this letter and I cherished it. I'm like, oh my God, Santa wrote me back. And I was pretty old. I was like 8 or 9. And anyways, I put it in the maleta because I was like, I'm going to show my friends back in the United States. Because we were in Durango, and I was like, I'm going to show them. I'm going to be like, damn, like, I didn't get a dog. Oh, and my parents got me a stuffed dog. Like a stuffed animal dog. So then they're like, we couldn't bring you a real one. So then, whatever, I come back, and I remember exactly where I put that letter. I put it in my mom's makeup bag because I was like, it's small. It's not going to get lost there. And we come back to the United States, and I go straight for that bag because it was the first day of school or whatever, and it's not there. And I asked my mom, I'm like, where's the letter? Like, I put it in here so I could, take it to school. And she's like, no, hijo, like, se hizo pues like que no sabía dónde estaba esa letter. And now, fast forward all these years, when I found out, I'm like, that's fucked up. Like, that's so fucked up.
Why?
Like,
that is such a childlike thing.
No, that she hid that, or like she thought, made me think really Santa couldn't bring me a dog. And 2, that she didn't tell me, like, I threw away the letter, and she just like said it got lost or something. And like, she knew that I was going to maybe be ridiculed at school for it because the other kids knew Santa wasn't real, So
she saved you from that.
Yeah, but I still told my friends.
And what did your friends say?
And my friends laughed at me. They're like, really?
At
like,
8, they already know that Santa isn't real?
Kids at school. There's always that one kid that's like a dick. But anyways, guys, I don't think I'm going to do unnecessary lying like that. Like, yeah, am I going to lie about Santa? Obviously, until he's like, whatever, like, make it fun. But I don't think I'm just going to lie. Like, all my life, I think, was just lies from my grandparents and parents. That, not like traumatizing lies, but like things that like just tell me, like, I feel like I can know, the truth. I don't know. Maybe I vented it. Like, you guys might not think it's like a big deal, but to me it is. You don't think so?
Yeah.
I just feel like when Franco asked me, like, oh, where did the dinosaurs come from, or where did this? My parents or my grandparents would always just say like the most crazy thing ever.
Yeah, I think definitely when he learns how to understand stuff like that, and he asks us like, oh, what is this button for? You're gonna tell him like, oh, it's for
Yeah, to the miles.
Yeah, but I just think it's so funny because like the whole Santa thing, I've always heard that a lot of parents don't lie to them, whatever, but I'm like, that is such a like magical thing. So it's like the fact that you thought Santa sent you that letter is nice, like that's what you should be when you're a child. But I do know that now children, even like 5-year-olds, will bully people for thinking that Santa's real, so it's like as the time progresses, maybe we won't even be able to tell Franco that it is real, because at that point in time people are going to know like for sure that he's not. So I don't know.
I just feel like if your son asks you something, right, a lot of Mexican parents, they just lie, right?
Yeah.
They'll just tell you what. And I think that you grab them and you're like, let's find out together. Because growing up, I had a lot of questions regarding the Bible, regarding dinosaurs. And my parents would either just tell me just because, or, oh, I don't know, like it just works, Because I remember one time I was growing up and I was a big old animal nerd. So I learned in school, the first day I learned, babe, the humpback whale, the blue whale, whatever, even though it's enormous, it can't swallow anything bigger than a basketball. Did you know that? Even though they're the biggest animal in the world, they eat krill, which are the smallest shrimp. And that's why it fits through the throat. So me being like this, I was like, I learned that. But me also growing up with the Bible in school, I remember Jonah and the whale, where he swallowed him. Do you know that story? Mm-mm. You don't know Jonah and the whale? Anyways, this guy, he like went into the ocean and he got swallowed by a whale, and inside the whale, he got closer to God. And then once he was ready, the whale spit him out. Supposedly this is in the Bible, and it happened. So I go to my mom running. I'm like, mom, like I learned like whales can't even swallow a basketball. Like how can they swallow a whole Jonah? And even the hole like where supposedly he got spit out through the air hole in the top of the whales, it's like that big,
Yeah.
So then my mom basically, I don't blame her. Because obviously, what do you tell a kid?
Yeah.
Ni modo que me lleve al museum and she shows me the whale, or she was there when that happened in the Bible. But like, she just refused to tell me. She just said like, it's because,
And did you ever find out why, if it was true?
No, babe, I don't know. Everything in the Bible could either be true or false, but we just have faith that it did happen, But I don't know. I feel like if Franco would ask me that, I'm like, look, let's go. Let's pull up the anatomy of a whale. You know, maybe going in. If we go like this, we are the size of a basketball lengthwise. Now,
No, we're not.
a basketball is like this big, right? So if we lay and we go through the basketball, maybe Jonah was a small guy, you know? So then I'm like, okay, maybe going in. Okay, spitting out. Let's take the air hole way out. That's unrealistic. It's the size of a freaking tennis ball. Let's go that he maybe got vomited out. That's another realistic. Or shit it out or whatever, you know? So, I don't know. Don't lie to your kids, guys. If they're old enough to understand, or maybe you think they're not. Little kids, the brain develops, I think, the most or the quickest from 1 to 5 years old. So if your 4-year-old and your 5-year-old are asking you like legit deep questions, like answer them to the best of your ability, or whip out your laptop, go to Google and help each other find out the answer, you know?
But I'm still tell him the Santa's real.
No, I know. I'm not going to be like that. Okay. Should we go through some emails, babe?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I keep saying emails, guys. We do not check our email anymore. I'm sorry. It's just DMs. Hello, Blanca and Jay. I love your podcast. So I'm a 24-year-old married and with a 6-year-old. Long story short, I have been taking care of my younger sibling since I was 6 years old. My parents always made me watch my younger sibling because they didn't have a babysitter. My parents let me go anywhere I would want to, and buy me anything, but only because I would watch my younger siblings. Once I got to the age of 16, I started working and wanted to do a lot of things, but I couldn't do much because my parents didn't have a babysitter and they would make me watch them. They had more kids and I would get mad in a way because I would tell my mom, why have more kids if you guys make me watch them, and I'm going to get to an age where I'm going to have my own family and I will not be the hero like always to take care of my siblings. And then my parents would bash me down saying, you're such a bad sister, you don't appreciate, etc. I love my brothers and sisters and I will always be there for them. But now I have my own family and my mom still needs me help caring for my younger siblings because she needs to go to work. I keep telling my parents I can't watch them because I have my own family and they get mad at me. I feel so stressed all the time because they make me feel like it's my fault or that I'm a mean person for not wanting to take care of my siblings. What do you guys think? Am I wrong for not wanting to help my parents? I do now have my own kid and husband. Thanks. Love y'all.
Oh my God. That's my biggest ick.
Okay, babe, hold up. You know what? I wanted to go down that route too.
I don't know, because I think growing up, I didn't have siblings till I was 12. And when I did, I don't remember. Do you remember me ever being like, oh, I can't go because I have to watch my sisters?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Really?
Yeah, especially on weekends. Because your dad, when your dad was a little bit not so good, you would be like, I can't leave my sisters alone. And then I would always tell you this. Your dad is literally there.
Yeah. In the mornings, I couldn't.
And then you'd be like, no, like he just doesn't watch them or he sleeps all morning, you know? And I'll be like.
Yeah, so I didn't. I had to watch my sisters up until like 3:30 when my mom would get home from work. And I do remember it sucking, but I don't remember it being like my mom forced me to do it. It was just more of a, like, we had to because we were a family, you know, like you have to take care of your siblings. Not until now do I think that that's not a good, I wouldn't say like not a good thing, but it's like you're not supposed, so where you're coming from when you said, why have more kids if you don't have a babysitter and you're going to make me watch them? That's very true. I think that having kids is your parents' responsibility. And if they want to have 10 kids, then they better have a babysitter for those 10 kids, because the oldest cannot be watching them, because that's literally instilling older child trauma. And I don't like that at all. Honestly, it's my biggest ick when I see that, or like, even you'll see like a 7-year-old taking care of his like 1-year-old, you know, when they're like these tiny little scrawny 7-year-olds that are like holding on to a freaking chubby ass 1-year-old, like lugging him around. And I think that that's just so terrible, because you're not even letting these kids have a childhood, you know, like
they're kids too.
They're literally growing up just thinking like, oh, I have to take care of them. Oh, I have to give them cereal. Oh, I have to do this and this for them. And I think that is the most traumatic thing you can do, especially if you just keep having kids and then keep having your older kids take care of your younger ones. So I don't like it at all, to be honest. And I feel like at that point your parents have to reevaluate themselves and be like, you know what, one of us has to stay home with the kids. you know, because that's just, I don't know. And if you already have a whole husband and a whole kid by yourself, I hope that you take that out of your system, feeling guilty for not wanting to take care of them, because that is not your job. So don't ever let your parents make you feel guilty. Just say, no, I can't, and that's it.
Yeah, because that's going to cause problems eventually with your husband and eventually with your kids, you know? So,
yeah.
But okay, what I wanted to say, I wanted to play devil's advocate here. For part, I'm fully on your side, babe. But the only thing I can see, maybe, because I do like to put myself in the parents' shoes sometimes, is at the beginning, the very beginning, she said that her parents buy her everything. La tienen bien cuidadita. I mean, for judging from the DM, they bought her everything. They spoiled her, whatever. So, okay, let's go with one kid only that she would have to take care of. Like, let's say her little brother. I think that's okay. Like, your parents are working both together to give you guys the best life, right? So as long as maybe you're taking care of one kid, and they have you like the nicest clothes, whatever you want your parents buy you, then okay, it's a trade at that point. I see it. I take care of your son, you guys buy me what I want. I think that's a fair trade, because a lot of kids don't have ese lujo de sus papás que le compran todo, blah, blah, blah. So it looks like you grew up fine because your parents both worked, right? The only bad thing that's the only good thing I see in this whole situation. The rest is just bad.
Yeah.
Like, that is such a nick where your parents cannot freaking either wrap it with a condom, get on birth control, or do something natural planned hood or whatever it's called. And not,
what did you say?
Natural planned hood is what it's called.
Okay.
Can't stop freaking busting out more kids. That's so annoying. Like, literally, that's so annoying. And I feel bad for older kids that, like, because even though I have 4 younger siblings, my mom never, like, I felt like that. Like,
and even to this day, we're like, oh, I wish your brothers came over more often.
Yeah.
But it's like his parents are literally embarrassed to ask us, like, hey, can we drop them off for this and this and this, you know? And we're like, no, we want it. Instead of them wanting to like ask us to take care of them, we want them to be like, hey, if you guys are gonna go out, like, please drop them off here, you know? So it's like, and even you saying, babe, like, oh yeah, la tenía bien cuidadita, like, sometimes kids don't want all the brand stuff or everything they want. They just want to go out and have fun with their friends, you know?
that
and if you
gives me
can't
the same
have
vibe
that,
as, like, you know, those kids in Mexico that are like really poor and they have to go out and work really young and they don't have a childhood. Your parents making you take care of another human being at such a young age gives me the same vibe. Yeah. Because that, in your little brain, you have to grow up quicker and develop quicker and be afraid of choking hazards, of other things that little kid might do, that it matures you quicker and it takes away your childhood. And I think that's very sad.
Yeah, that is very sad. And it just sucks for the parents to not.
Because what does the youngest get?
Like that.
The youngest gets all the fun. He gets all the oldest siblings taking him everywhere. He gets to fully experience a full childhood. And then the oldest is screwed.
Yeah.
You know? So that's very bad. And I think I think that is a form of abuse. Parents that can't stop having kids, especially, I'm going to speak for my culture, Mexicans are notorious for that. Like, where's the education? Where's the ¿cómo se dice? The ability to, okay, I know I can't financially support more than 2 kids. Why am I going to have 7?
And even another thing is, like, most of the Hispanic women that I've talked to and that I know about birth control, their fears, it's because it's unnatural, like putting things like that in your body. But it's like, how are you more scared of something that's going to give you hormones to stop having babies than bringing children into the world, not being able to financially take care of them, forcing your other kids to watch them, or even like if you are so like scared to have other people watch your kids, like if you're so scared for other people to watch your kids, then don't have more kids. You know, it's like, stop being scared of putting hormones in your body. Like, be more scared of bringing kids into the world that you're not going to be able to give a good childhood to, you know, because all in all, you're raising these adults that are going to be immature, that aren't going to be emotionally available, you know? So it's like, you have to think more about that. And I'm just saying that for the Hispanic culture, because I know that, like, growing up and having a lot of white, did we establish white to say white friends?
Yeah.
They literally, their parents would take them at 16 to get birth control, whether it was because they were going to be sexually active or whether it was because it was going to regulate their period. Like, that is, they are so pro that, you know. And even working like at a private clinic, I know that they were so pro, what was it? Pro stopping unplanned pregnancies, because then that leads to abortions, or that leads to child abuse, or that leads, to so many things. So it's like, now I know why everyone in that culture is like that, because they know the struggles of having a kid. Like, there's so many people that only have one kid, and when you look at Hispanic families, these people have like 6 kids at least, so I think that we need a lot of education in that. But also, we just want to tell you, girl, like, do not feel guilty for it. You do not have to take care of your siblings.
Forget the financial, like what I just mentioned. What if you can't take care of 2 kids? What makes you think you can take care of 6? Whatever. Money is money, and you don't need money to be happy, right? I've seen families that have 8 kids and they're all happy, Yeah. But one thing is, like, it's also, I think, emotional abuse, because I know, for example, I'm gonna use like my family. My dad's mom had 9 kids, so my dad has 8 siblings. I don't think each and every single one of them got the attention and love that they deserved. Same thing with like your grandma, So judging from what I can see, when my abuelita se vivía en paz descanse, my dad was the favorite, and my uncle, because they were the only 2 boys out of 9. So that already establishes that favoritism. The youngest one was like, there's this like joke, the prettiest one, and like the youngest, you love your youngest, right? And then there's the one, my otra tia, that had like green eyes, so she automatically became the favorite. The rest of my aunts, like, se las llevó la fregada, especially the oldest. And that's the only aunt that I really always ask my dad, like, how is she, looking out for her, because she had it the worst. Imagine raising 9 kids, 8 kids, 8 siblings. So it's like, yeah, can you financially maintain all 10 of them or whatever you want to have? But can you give them all the emotional, like, what was he support that each one is in their little world. Each one is experiencing 6th grade, high school, their first job, their first time driving, all by themselves. And if you can't be there for every single one of them in that moment, that for me is a little bit of a way of abuse.
Yeah. I agree. I think the same with my mom. Like, my mom always talks about, like, when I was little, I had to do this for all my siblings, and I washed all of my brother's clothes, and like literally hand washed them. And I'm like, yeah, you're telling me like your hero story, but you shouldn't have had to do that, And my mom still had a good childhood. Like, she talks about how she loved her childhood, how my grandparents didn't struggle until they moved to the city and stuff. But it's like, even still, like, that's how she grew up. And at the end of the day, like, I feel like my mom has changed a lot, because with me, I think she expected me to do so much, like wash the bathroom in order to go out, do this or do that, and like watch your sisters and do all of this. And like with my sisters now, I'm like, why don't you give them the same as me, But it's like, it's different, because now my sisters have her home from work, like every weekend they get to do something together. They get to spend more time together. They're getting the luxury that I never got. So I'm like, it's good that she's changing in that sense, but it's like still sad thinking that she, like, everything that she taught me is things that she learned from having to be an older sister with trauma, And a lot of people don't categorize it as that, because I know a lot of people think that it's exaggerated or whatever. But when you really truly think about it, like, that is trauma that you're instilling in your children. And at the end of the day, they're not even going to want kids, or they're not going to want anything to do with you, So. Yeah,
like her little sister, the oldest one, she's been through like 3 births already. She was there for your tias? Or where was she?
For what?
That you told me that Jimena's seen. Your tia. She saw her give birth?
No, right? I saw.
Tia Dana. No, your tia.
It was my mom.
No, but your sister was there.
Really?
I remember, because we asked her, we're like, do you want kids? She's like, no.
Yeah, I do remember.
So anyways, her little sister saw her aunt give birth, and then now taking care of Franco, not taking care of, like, but she comes over and she plays with them, and she sees how hard having a kid is from newborn till right now. Franco, we ask her, like, you want kids? And she says, like, no, right away, because of like birth trauma, and also just seeing how hard it is. And eso que no la hacemos cuidarlo, just to like be here, like living next to him. So it's like, now imagine like a little kid that has to take care of like a being while her parents, like, here you go, here's a phone number to 911, and I know what that feels like, because sometimes my parents would be like, we have to go to this doctor's appointment, like, don't let your brothers eat anything, drink anything, here's 911, here's my here's my phone, because I didn't have a phone, so my mom would leave me hers, and they would take my dad's. But it was like rare occasions. It was never like, we're going to the casino later, you know?
Yeah, for me, my mom never gave, like, she was never like, oh, here's 911. But it is because I usually just took care of them with my dad. And like Jonathan said, my dad will wake up at 1 p.m. He would stay in bed, watch movies. And it was literally, I think this is why I hate waking up early, was because every weekend, like, I couldn't just be a normal teenager that slept in and that woke up to pancakes. I couldn't. Like, I had to wake up at the ass crack of dawn because Magali and Jimena were already freaking going crazy in the living room. I had to make sure I gave them breakfast. I had, like, I had to make sure that my sisters were taken care of. And so now, like, thinking about it, I'm like, oh, that's why I hate waking up early, because I had to. Like, I was literally forced to do it for so many years of my life. So it's like, why would you guys want to give your children that trauma? And I feel like a lot of people are not well educated enough. Like, they're like, well, what? They're like, they're older siblings. That's their job. And it's like, it's your job, girly. And if you don't want to get a babysitter, then don't have kids, because babysitters are expensive. And it's like, having kids is expensive, period. If you want to have kids and you want to be a stay-at-home mom, and you can, perfect. But it's like, when you have kids, you don't only have to think about having the kid, feeding the kid, dressing the kid. You have to think about who's going to take care of him if I go to work, who's going to take care of him when, like, something happens, like an emergency, and both dad and I have to go somewhere, you know? So I don't know. There's just, I feel like a lot of people that, well, in our older generation, that never educated themselves on what it truly was to have kids. And I feel like that's why, as generations come, we're having more dogs than children.
Yeah, we were watching Boss Baby.
Yeah, Boss Baby.
And the whole plot of it is like, the baby's getting mad because the organization of baby spies is getting mad because people are buying more dogs now, and there's like a love meter. And the love meter's pointing more towards dogs and puppies. But it's true. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. I heard underpopulation, since the rates are going so slow, it could be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're seeing like before, like, everyone, you would go and ask for a job and be like, we have enough people, or like, no. And you would go apply to 10 places and no jobs, right? Now it's like every fast food restaurant is looking for workers.
Yeah, everyone's now hiring. Starting at $18.
Yeah, so I feel like there's less and less people in this world, except in LA. There's always traffic in LA. Okay, babe, you want to read this one?
Hi, guys. Look forward to your podcast every week. You guys get me through the week and my commute. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Been with my boyfriend for 11 years now. He has a son who I met when he was still a toddler and treated him as my own. Also, my family did too. We also have a 6-year-old daughter. We have been through a lot, and I mean a lot. We talked about marriage before and now. But now he says he will say, what? Oh, but now he has days where he will say, yeah, I'm considering it, and yeah, I want to get married. But other days he will say no, he does not want to, because of the debt he has and how he does not want to be involved. And because he does not want to end up getting a divorce. We talk about it casually, but I was never the type to pressure and nag about it constantly. I explained to him what my reasons are and why it's important to me. I told him I only want to get married at a city hall and my ring is less than $500. I don't know if I should just let it go and accept that we won't get married, or should I push it, or will this cause an end to our relationship? Thank you, guys. That's a hot take, girl.
Right away off the bat, I'm sorry. Where was this conversation when you guys were dating?
Or before you had a child with him?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're technically still dating because you're not married, but you know what I mean. Like, before the whole moving in, before the let's have a kid, you talk about these things when you're getting ice cream. Hey, what's your favorite color? Blue. You want to get married one day? No. Oh, there. Okay,
bye,
see you
toodles.
later. You know, that should have been a conversation, but okay, whatever. You're already here. I think go for it, and YOLO. You only live once. You deserve what you want. Yes. And I don't think marriage, the biggest commitment you can have with someone is having a child. And you have two. You raised his, and now you have your one together. Marriage should not be like, that gives me like he's hiding something. He's what debt? Like, okay, I get he has debt, but becomes
if he had
yours.
Debt, like, why did you have another child? You know, like, why didn't you wrap it up?
Yeah.
That's what you talk about before having a kid. That's not what we talk about when you already have a kid and a stable household, and then the girl wants to get married, you know. Yeah. I don't know, girl. I do think that life's too short, and that you should, I wouldn't say that you're nagging him, but you should sit down, literally like Jonathan and I did that one time. We sat down and we're like, is not having a kid a deal breaker? Yes, it's a deal breaker. Mm-hmm. Okay. You know? And
we had that conversation so far along because you you had told me when we date. Obviously, it's a common sense thing, kids, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until Blanca.
It was until I secured the
blindsided
bag
me.
and I got married.
Yeah.
And we had a stable house with 2 dogs that I was like, I ain't having no kids.
And then that's where I was like, oh, you think I'm just not going to want to have kids? Nope. Let's sit down and talk about our divorce.
Yes, exactly. So you have to literally sit down and be like, we're having a conversation right now. I don't want you that, oh, maybe, or maybe.
change the topic. No, yes or no.
Are you going to want to get married? Yes or no? And don't give me a maybe. If he says yes, perfect. Then that you'll stay. You guys will figure it out. How you'll get rid of the debt. How you'll slowly pay it off. How he will buy that $500 ring. And if he says no because you're putting that pressure on him, or he makes you feel like you're putting pressure on him, or you're nagging him, then you're not gonna get a marriage out of him, girl. And
that's the least he could do after you raised his kid.
And then had another one, and then gave birth.
that kid becomes obviously yours because you raised them, right? You probably see him as yours now, but that's not an easy thing to do, to marry someone or get with someone, date someone that has a kid already.
Hell no.
That's a big responsibility, big job, way more than ever proposing or marrying someone. So I think that someone's priorities are out of check here.
Yeah.
And
you gotta sit down and tell him straight up, girl, and 1, you work on it, or 2, you run away and you find your happily ever after. There's a guy out there that has 10 kids and might want to marry you, you know?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Marriage isn't just, I don't know. If that's your end goal, if that is what your dream is, and listen, what a lot of people say, I just want this small little wedding with a $500 ring. You get the wedding you deserve, period. All right. If you want to have a little small ceremony, then do it, because you're only going to get married once. And the fact that he's thinking about, oh, I don't want to attend and divorce. Like, why are you already thinking about that? You know, like when Jonathan and I got married, we weren't like, oh, babe, but what if we get a divorce? We were just like, fuck it. When you get married, there is no divorce. Yeah. We almost did get one, but it's okay.
Yeah. But anyways, okay, last one for today. Hi guys, I just want to start off by saying I love you both and really enjoy listening to your podcast. I really want some advice. My husband and I have been married for almost 3 years, and right after our wedding, we moved far away from my family. I've always been super close to my parents and siblings, so moving so far from them was and on some days still is very tough on me. My husband and I have started to think about having children in the near future. The older I get and seeing people around with me with kids, I start to think about how hard it would be to have a baby so far from my family. My parents are super excited to become grandparents. On the other hand, my suegra, not so much. Every time the subject is brought up, she is super negative and says that she doesn't want to be a grandma and that we are too young to make her a grandma. We are 23 and 25. My husband didn't grow up with a close-knit family, and I feel like he doesn't understand where I'm coming from. When I say that, it makes me sad to think about my kids not growing up around my family. We moved here because he got a good job offer, and when I suggest that we move back, he says he doesn't like the idea of not making as much money and struggling to provide our kids with a good life. I also work full-time, and we were recently able to buy a house. Even with us both working full-time, sometimes we can barely make ends meet. The whole point of us moving here was for him to make more money and to live more comfortable, but that's but that's not the case. I'm turning into a goat. I really want to move back, but he always turns down the idea. What do you suggest, girl?
You have the pussy in this relationship, girl. You sit him down and be like, your mom doesn't want no grandchildren. We are moving back to my parents, or not to my parents' house. We're moving back to where my parents live, and we're having kids. And if you don't want it, then you can see that door and get the hell out. And I'm just tired, guys. Like, why are these people like Jonathan was literally gonna divorce me because I didn't want to have kids, and I wasn't gonna put up a fight because I was like, if I don't want kids, I'm like, all right, let's get a divorce. But I ended up getting therapy and seeing my trauma through.
She loved me too much, guys.
Oh, sure. I just don't know why you would settle for something like that. I mean, if you guys are already struggling where you are, I think that maybe a change of lifestyle will work. Like if you guys move back to where your parents are, he can look for a better paying job. He can, do certain things to help it out. You can make it anywhere if you really want to. El que quiere puede, and that's my mom's favorite saying. So yeah, I honestly think that having children away from your family would probably not be the best, not only because they can help you if you want to and if you need it, but because you're gonna have this little baby grow up with so much love around him. And for me, it's so unbelievable to hear that your suegra doesn't want to be a grandma. Like,
that's crazy.
My suegros literally were like, are you sure you want to wait till you're 30? Like, they would never
parents are
pressure me about
stressing.
it. But they were literally stressing out. My soda was like, I just really want to be a young grandpa. Like, I want to be able to run and like play with my grandbabies, you know? So it's like, that just shocking to me that like your sweat. I was like, don't make me a grandma. I was so young. It's like, girl, you should be happy to be a young grandma.
That gives me
you know?
grandma vibes. Like, she still wants to be out there at the casino and not taking care of the baby.
You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to go and take your child to see your suegra, you know? But I truly think that you should just tell your husband, like, look, this is my end goal. I want to be a mom. I want to be close to my family. So what are we going to do to work towards this? We're going to sell the house, maybe make some money off of it, or, you know, change of pace. Because at the end of the day, if you really think about it, right? And if you end up listening to your husband and he doesn't want to move and you end up getting pregnant, and then what? You're going to be there by yourself because he's still going to be working 24/7, right? You're going to be at home by yourself. Maybe, possibly, hopefully not, but fall into postpartum depression because you have nobody near you, or you're going to be so sad because your parents can't come as often to visit the baby. Like, you have to think about that, because it's like, yeah, you could be a supportive wife and tell him like, fine, like, I'll stay here, I'll have kids here, we'll struggle however, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be the one struggling.
Yeah, he's
gonna be able to get up and go to work like he always does. You're gonna change your lifestyle because you're gonna stop working and take care of a baby. You're gonna have to find a babysitter maybe that you don't even trust, you don't know. So at the end of the day, although it sounds a little bit hard or challenging to move back to where you guys were and to sell your house and maybe rent or buy a house elsewhere, I think that you have to truly see what your end goal is, because at the end of the day, do what's best for your baby. Yeah, do what's best for you and your baby, because maybe for your baby, yeah, it would be great if you're at home with the baby all the whole time, but if you want it to be surrounded by love, I think that you should definitely go back to where your parents live. I don't know what I would do if we didn't live near,
especially since you're so close to them. Like, you were close to them, like, emotionally. So, and
as they say, marriage is a compromise. So your husband has to compromise and be like, fuck it, you know.
Like, we already tried this out.
Yeah.
You tried it his way.
And we're still barely making ends meet. Yeah. So let's go struggle where we're near family, where we're near people that are going to love me. Yeah. So honestly, girl, I think you should definitely do it.
If I'm gonna, yeah, go ahead.
I was like, we literally moved 15 minutes away. 15. Oh, yeah. 15, not 50. 15 minutes away from my parents, and I was struggling, girl.
We went from 5 to 19 minutes to be exact.
So it's like, imagine that. I would never leave to another state or a whole different city. I guess we're in a different city.
Yeah, but it's like,
it's across the highway.
9 miles.
Nothing crazy. But yeah, I just couldn't imagine having kids where I don't have the help of my suegros or my parents. So definitely talk about it, girl, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one struggling. So you either want to struggle with your mom by your side or by yourself.
Yeah. If you're going to struggle with loved ones, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you have a suegra like that. That is nasty, icky suegra. Send me her Instagram so I can go tell her that she's a nasty little lady. Just kidding. No, guys, a lot of you guys get mad when I talk like this. I'm not a therapist. I hate to break it to you. I'm not a real therapist, okay?
And I don't care about your nasty,
I'm not a real psychologist. You might be used to me like giving such great advice, according to you guys, not of me. But I'm not, okay? I'm a 25-year-old man that plays Call of Duty sometimes. I'm going to say shit like that, okay? So I'm hurt if like a lot of you guys are like, oh, you're so mean, Jonathan. Like, La Suegra just probably wants to live her 60s at the casino. Okay, that's fine. But like, I don't know. That just makes me appreciate my grandparents, my parents and her parents even more, because I have to grab Franco and unglue him from my dad and my mom.
And my mom and my dad.
Yeah, and he cries when we leave her mom's house. So it's like, that love and support, girl, that you're longing for with your baby is just 10 times better. Like, if you already love your parents and your sibling, when you have a kid and they love him as much as you do, it's the best thing in the world.
And I know that sometimes we sound so exaggerated, and I'm like, I literally put you in the worst position where I'm like, if you have a baby where you are now and you're so far away from people and your husband goes to work, you might get postpartum depression. And I'm just saying, because postpartum depression is so common nowadays with loved ones by you. So like, imagine you by yourself And then just sitting there with your baby and being like, what if we would have moved back? What if I would have just forced him to go back to my parents' house? You know, because at the end of the day, even if you are a little happy having your kid, like you're still going to be like, okay, how are my parents going to come and see him? Or how am I going to go and see them? If I travel to them, I'm going to have to travel by myself because my husband has to work because we can barely make ends meet. You know, so it's like truly think about it and put yourself in the most craziest scenarios, you know. And if you are still not happy where you're at, then just pick up and move right back.
Yeah.
But I honestly would not, like if Jonathan was like, we're leaving and my job is better and we're gonna do this, and then I tell him like, oh, I want to move back, and he shuts it down, I'm moving back, period, girl.
And we get to the job and you ask me for like money for like Starbucks. I'm like, no, like we can't this month, like we're still struggling.
I'm moving my ass right
Hell
back to my
no,
parents'
man. Well, yeah, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. And I just wanted to end on a positive note and say that, look, this is a different podcast, all right? This podcast, we talk about real deep shit, traumas, experiences, personal, like advice that like you guys might be laughing at it, or like we try to lighten up the mood, but it's real life scenarios, and we're not like, this girl's actually going through this. And I want you guys as the listeners to really take this in and think about what you're going to comment. A lot of you guys are very quick to be mean to like, I know I said this last podcast, like, Jonathan, you're so stupid. Jonathan, this, like, oh, Jonathan, you just don't see everyone's scenarios. That's the consequence of having a podcast like this, guys. And I mean it for us, yes, but also for you. Like, you're enjoying real life raw content. If you want to go to a Cheeseman Channel podcast, if you want to go to a podcast that talks about Kylie Jenner freaking not kissing Travis Scott this week in the lips and whatever, then go listen to that podcast, all right? No one's pressuring you to be here. This podcast is like different, and it's so like, to a lot of people, has helped so many people. So don't ever try to degrade that, okay?
Yeah, and we always talk about why we started the podcast, and it was just to help people that literally can't go to therapy or don't want to go to therapy because it's not instilled in their Hispanic ways of living, you know. So it's like at least you'll hear our 2 cents, and at least maybe the way that we think is gonna open your mind a little bit, and maybe you're gonna be able to relate someone who sends in a story or who comments that they're going through the same thing, you know. So because, like, sorry to cut you off, babe, but the things we're doing week after week, listening to stories, traumas, is not easy, guys. It's like, I'm going to be really real with you guys. I had a conversation with Mando the other day. You guys know Mando, Lily Mando. And he was honest with me. He's like, hey, man, we tried doing that advice thing. Like, you know, when they were first starting their podcast, he's like, but it's just so negative. It's like, it's such a heavy weight on our shoulders, like hearing all these either sad or weird stories. Like we couldn't do it. We couldn't keep doing it. Or what. He's like, I don't know how you guys do that every week, but we're not going to go down that route. And it's like, you know what? It's not for everyone, and it's not an easy thing. So sorry that advice doesn't fit with that specific person just because you went through life differently. It's just our 2 cents. Yeah, sorry. It's just our 2 cents, and we do it from a place of love. That's yeah, and like Jonathan always says, like, he is your older brother, right? He's giving older brother vibes. So maybe you're not always going to hear things that you want to hear, but that's what Jonathan is here for, guys. Literally, when I go to Jonathan and I'm like, babe, this is what's happening to me, can you help me? I go to him because I know that he's going to tell me what I need to hear and not what I want to hear. If I want to go to someone to tell me what I want to hear, I'm going to go to my mom. She's going to help me. She's going to be biased, you know, be on my side. Jonathan's always going to be like, hey, well, looking at it from this way, or putting myself in their shoes, you know. So when you come to this podcast, just know that I will lightheartedly tell you when you're wrong, and Jonathan will dead us tell you when you're wrong, and he's not going to, because at the end of the day, we want what's best for you guys, and we want you guys to make good choices according to the things that we've already been through. So if you don't want that, then we understand.
And guys, look, I'm not perfect, and I, just as much as you take my advice, I take yours. Let me give you a really raw, I wish I could grab the camera and flip it that way. But over there is where I had my pyramid crystal, and it is no longer there. Have you noticed?
Oh no, what happened to it?
I threw it away.
Oh shit, why?
Because someone in the comments said, because I asked you guys, what do you guys think about pyramids? I don't view it as like, you know, zodiac. And the girl said in this comment, and it's very true, she's like, anything that you have to get either good vibes, power, energy from that is not God is not from him. Because the only person you should be asking for help, for energy, for love is God. And he has more than enough to supply you with it. So why do you have a pyramid giving you this energy or good vibes, frequencies, whatever? And I was like, you know what, girl, and I took your guys' advice because I'm not a hypocrite. And I'm here and I'm also improving as a person. I grabbed that crystal and I threw it in the recycling.
Is that where it goes?
No, but the trash was full. But yeah, it's no longer here, guys. Dead ass.
Yeah, it's not there. I never noticed, but that's crazy. But yeah, guys, that's it for today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want your story read, please DM us on Spill the Beans JJ. No, is this Spill the Beans JJ or Spill the Beans Podcast JJ?
Spill the Beans. Spill the Beans.
Spill the Beans.
Spill the Beans Podcast JJ
at
Gmail.
No, that's on Instagram. At Spill the Beans Podcast JJ. Yeah. Go there, condense your story to at least one paragraph, and it will be read, I promise. But other than that, that's all we have for today. Let us know how much you love us in the comments, please. Please give us some validation. Just kidding. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm a little bit
all right, guys. Stressed. We'll see you next week. Later.
Bye.
Yay Networks.